Jambo from Kenya. Another time for another story. And today it's about a trip that I did a few years ago, which was a different kind of a safari, because over the years I have had mostly people from the US on safari. But this time I had the Chinese as my guests. So my story today is about my Chinese trip that I will never forget. This was 5 years ago, and the Chinese were coming into Kenya in big numbers. And I happened to have this connection, and somebody introduced me to this Chinese guy who gave me a trip. Normally the Chinese do very quick safaris. In 4 or 5 days they do the whole of Kenya. They will go from Nairobi to Amboseli, back to Nairobi to Mount Kenya, Samburu, Lake Baringo, and they end up in the Mara. 5 nights they have done the whole Kenya. So they are very quick safaris. I was not used to that. So I had to keep up with the pace, because most of them is a big group. You find that you are in a group of 10 cars, 7 to 10 vehicles. Remember, we have speed governors on our vehicles, but some guys have doctored the limiters so that they can keep up with the very quick itineraries. Anyway, we are driving from Amboseli, we are driving to Nairobi so that the following day we would go to Samburu. And my vehicle has a speed limiter. You can't drive over 80 kilometers an hour. I had 6 ladies in my Jeep and 1 gentleman. The gentleman sat with me next to the driver on the co-driver seat, and we are driving from Amboseli this morning, and it is pedal to the metal. Because the safaris are very quick, there is no time to sit down, observe, and enjoy the animal moments. When you see one elephant, you don't stop for another elephant. Whether you have a mother with a baby or you have some bulls fighting, as long as you have seen one elephant, that's it. You keep going. You stop for one, they ask you, Stanley, why are you stopping? We just saw another elephant. Zola is keep going, let's go, keep going. So for them, it's about the quantity, the number of places they have visited and the animals they have seen. They just want to check them off the list. So we are driving this morning on a washboard road from Amboseli to Namanga, where we could find a paved road all the way to Nairobi. Before you go to Namanga, this road is really rough and dusty. And I was struggling to keep the vehicle on the road at high speed. Remember, you have to keep going, because if you drive slowly, you hit each and every bump on the road. But if you drive at a certain speed, you are able to fly over some of them and skip them. So it becomes less bumpy, it becomes more smooth. So I was trying to do that. And the Chinese are hanging, they are all quiet. And all of a sudden, all the girls started going, Stanley, they started calling me. And they were going, nyonyo, nyonyo, Stanley, nyonyo. None of them was speaking English, except the gentleman sitting next to me. So I said to him, it was still very rough, you know, there was a lot of noise in the car. I said to this guy, my friend, what are the girls saying? He said, don't worry about them, keep going. Zola, we have to follow. Because the other guys were already a few minutes ahead of me. I was lagging behind. I kept going. I ignored their calls. They went on, Stanley, nyonyo, nyonyo. I'm wondering, what are they saying? Because nyonyo in Kenya, nyonyo is Swahili for boobs, girls' boobs. These are young girls behind there telling me, Stanley, boobs, our boobs. I wondered, what did they want me to do? What was wrong with the nyonyo? And this guy, my friend next to me, he was not helping me. He's just telling me Zola. So the girls were yelling, nyonyo, nyonyo, and I was like, now what do I do to these nyonyos? How do I help them? And they're not telling their friend nyonyo. You know, this guy would understand. He was with them. This was somebody they knew. Maybe he could help them. There was no way I was going to help the girls, the Chinese girls, with the nyonyo problems, because that could lead me in trouble. They kept yelling, so I had to stop. I swerved off the road, I stopped the car, and I said to this guy, please, find out what is happening. As I was telling him that, the girls were rushing out of the car. They were going through the windows. They were all jumping like impalas out of the car, like all directions, both sides. And I was like, what is happening here? Do we have a snake? Do we have some bees? Because that is what happens with bees. Elephants are huge animals. But one bee, if a bee zooms around a herd of elephants like zzz, everybody takes off. They are afraid of bees. I thought, do we have a bee or a spider or a snake? There must be a monster in the car. I looked back in the car. There was nothing. The car was okay, but the windows were open, the girls were all outside. I used my side mirrors, and the girls on both sides, they were all squatting and checking the tires. Little did I know that the word nyonyo in Chinese means checking the tires. They wanted to pee. Why this guy didn't tell me about it, I will never understand. Because he shut up. He never said anything about it. The girls they almost peed on themselves in the car. Luckily enough, I used my sixth sense and I stopped the car. They found an opportunity to fly out through the windows and check the tires. So they got back in the car and they were laughing, they were enjoying, they were relieved, they were happy. You can imagine the pain when you have to hold it up until you get the right opportunity. It can be really painful. So we kept going. We got to Nairobi the following morning. We headed to Samburu, and finally we ended up in the Mara. On the drive from the Mara to Nairobi, I had another group now. I had two couples. They were exchanging. They were different cars, so I had two couples. And only one husband could speak a little bit of English. The other three didn't understand a word of English. So we started heading back and we are driving. And I could hear one guy sat with me. The guy that was speaking some English sat with me on the co-driver seat, and we were driving up. As we went up the steep slopes of the eastern escarpment of the Rift Valley, going up, their voices also started going up, because one of the couple, a husband and wife who were at the back, they started some argument. And I could hear this was not going to end well. So I said to this guy, I think there's a problem. Can you sort it out? Ask them what is happening. He didn't say anything. So we kept going. But this Chinese couple at the back, they started shouting, and the voices were going higher. As we went up in altitude, their voices also went up. And I could hear them go like, this is the guy telling the wife, and the wife would go, I said, please, my friend, something is wrong. They went on, In my mind, I was like, maybe they are calling each other, Porthog, you are a hyena, donkey. You know, they were throwing insults. You could tell they were insulting each other. I just wished I could understand what they were saying, but I didn't understand. So it went on and on. And I'm telling this guy, please, help them, ask them. He just was there. He said, Zola, keep going, let's go. Because we had to come to Nairobi because they had a flight that night. That was the most difficult journey of my life, because as we were driving up, I look on the rear view mirror and I saw this husband slap his wife like, yeah, Kinya. And the wife, because they were sitting right behind me, the wife lifted her left leg and she put it all above her head on the other side, and she slapped the husband, and then she put it right back into position. The husband was so mad. He was pissed off. He wanted to kill his wife. He got the wife by the hand and he twisted the hand 360 degrees. And the wife made so much noise. This other woman at the back is trying to stop them, but she was afraid. She didn't want to get involved. She would stay at the back. I could hear her trying to make them stop it, but they didn't. So I thought this was going to get out of hand and I had to do something. There was no police station close. There was no help coming my way. So I just swerved outside. I stopped the car. The moment I stopped the car, this guy, the one that was fighting with the wife, he opened his door. He ran around, opened the door on the side where the wife was seated, and she dragged the wife out of the car. And she turned the wife down, she pinned her down on the ground, and she is just beating the life out of this poor girl. And I said to my friend, please, they are going to kill each other. Go help. Try to do something. At that time, some Maasais that were grazing some cows and some goats nearby alongside the road, they thought this was Chak Chan, the Chinese movie star. They were enjoying it. They had a moment of a lifetime. They were going like, oh, they were jumping up. Remember, they have the red shukas, the red blankets on them. They were going up and down. They were like cheering. It was like they were watching a soccer game. They had a free movie. They were happy because this was live. It was happening right there. And it happened so quickly. So I said to this guy, please, do something about it. There is dust, they are yelling to each other. So my friend walked out to help them. Something happened as he was trying to separate them. I think he was bitten. The guy bit his finger. And this guy came back with blood oozing from his finger. I thought he was going to come to me and say, you see what happened to me? You see why I never went? I wanted to go there and help them. But he didn't say that. He came, he's sucking, he's bleeding, he's sucking his blood. The wife, now the wife of the tour leader, the guy that was speaking some English, went back. Women have a way of doing it. And I think they listened to this woman and they were able to calm down and stop the war. So when that happened, I said, we have got to separate the two. The two cannot sit together, otherwise we'll never make it to Nairobi. So the guy that was fighting, we made sure that he sat with me in front. His wife, we made sure she sat all the way at the back of the car. And the two that were not fighting, they sat behind me so that they could separate the two. Then we started heading to Nairobi. We are going to Nairobi, and then the insult started from the back. This woman was tough. This lady, the Chinese lady, she was small body, but she was tough. She had like the courage of a honey badger. She didn't care that she was tiny. but she wanted to fight. From the back seat, she went like, then the husband would look back, you know, through the gap between me and him, and he would look back and go like, he went like that. Again, it went up. These two, the couple, the peacemakers, they told them, why are you doing it? Why don't you wait till we get home, then we'll sort this out. That just calmed a little bit. But after a few minutes, the girl that had the courage of a honey badger, she leaped from her seat from the back. In the Land Cruiser, we have an aisle. Like in a plane, there is an aisle. The gap between the seats, like a corridor. And because she was seated at the center seat at the back, she flew. She just leaped straight and she flew in the air. And by the time we noticed what was happening, she was already on her husband's face, and she held the husband's face, and her fingernails were hooked on this poor man's face. And he was like, ah! He could not even speak. The couple behind me are trying to pull this woman back, but she could not let go because the toes, the nails were hooked on this. He was even bleeding. It took a lot of effort for these two to pull this girl off from this guy's face. He was bleeding. I had some napkins I gave to this guy. He is wiping himself. The woman is crying. Everybody now is crying in the car, except me. They are all crying because they thought this guy is going to... I thought he was going to die in the car. Luckily enough, when we got to Nairobi, a friend of theirs was waiting, and I was not to take them to the airport. I said to their friend, please, these guys, I don't think I can put up with them anymore. If you can take them to the airport, I would be glad. They have been fighting the whole morning, and I think it's good that I have made it to Nairobi. So they got out of the car. The car was messy, it was bloody, especially in the front. We got the suitcases out of the car very quickly. I just wanted to get out of that place and forget about the Chinese trip. That's the only Chinese trip, the first one and the last one, I hope, because it was tough for me. It was really tough. And at the end of the day, they do not leave you like that. They also know how to tip, but the way of tipping for them is different. With me here is what I got as a token of appreciation. 5-day safari, I got 5 packets. 5 packets of these, big ones. This is 5 years ago, before Corona. I didn't know why, I didn't know the use of these things until 2 years later when Corona came. And I tell you, they have come in handy. These are the face masks, the surgical face masks, original ones from China. I have been using them. I'm still using them. That is my story about the Chinese. I learned that they are very good family. They have very good family units, just like us. Some similarities is that they take care of their old ones, just like we take care of our old ones. We do not have nursing homes where we take our old people. We take care of them, and the Chinese take care of their old ones too. Thank you for watching, viewers. Thank you for subscribing and for keeping tuned to my channel. Take care, stay safe, and see you in my next video. Ciao.